Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. As always, thank you so much for sharing your time with me. It means the whole wide world. Today I want to talk to you about the 6 popular books I read in the week leading up to Valentine's Day. I'm recording this a bit late because life has been hectic. This past week actually was very difficult for myself and my family because my dog died. And I only say that because I just want to emphasize the power of reading, or even so, not necessarily reading in particular, but just pushing yourself to continue to do the things that make you happy even when you're having a really hard time. And I know there are moments when you really cannot do so, and that's completely understandable. You do have to give your body and your mind and your heart time to heal when you're going through difficult things. But for me in particular, I found that reading romances, which are typically very lighthearted and kind of just like a nice distraction from your reality, was a very helpful tool to kind of take me away from the difficulty that I was experiencing. And I relied heavily upon audiobooks this week because there were days where I just didn't have the physical ability to actually flip a page or just grab a book and like prop myself up to read it. So audiobooks were a lifesaver this week, and yeah, I'm very glad I was able to do this little romance challenge anyway, because it definitely boosted my energy quite a bit. So I just wanted to kind of give that piece of information. So yeah, let's get into it. The first book I read, which is the most disappointing one, which is why I want to get it out of the way nice and quickly, and that is The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks. Guys, this is very disappointing because this novel, at least in my heart, in my eyes, had always seemed like the quintessential romance novel. Like everything, this book created it all. At least that's how I perceived it. And I was wrong, is what I was. And this is not good. This is not good. I was heavily disappointed, if you can't tell. It just felt very surface level. I'm trying to find the words to articulate how I felt about this. I just didn't think it developed the characters enough, and I didn't think he depicted the extent of their love in a powerful and meaningful way. I never really felt, strictly speaking on how it's described in the book, that they had this like crazy, incomprehensible love story. I really only was able to continue to get that while reading it because I had seen the movie, and that's very much what I got from the movie. But the book itself doesn't do that. It doesn't give enough time to the love that they created when they were teens. It's just very surface level. You know what? I'm just gonna leave it at this. The beautiful ice cream scene, well, I thought it was beautiful, in the movie where like they're, you know, that scene, that's not in here. It's just not in here. The beautiful scene where they're playing in the water and it's like, if you're a bird, I'm a bird. Not in here either. So, moving on. The second book that I read, which is the one I was the most excited for, by a landslide, was The Bride Test, and this is the second book after The Kiss Quotient, but that's not to say you need to read The Kiss Quotient before you read this. They're not consecutive in that way. It's just kind of The Kiss Quotient had some side characters, one of them being Michael's cousin Kai, and this book is about Kai's love story. And I loved it. I loved it. If you haven't seen my previous videos, I often speak about my love for The Kiss Quotient. It was one of my favorite books of 2020 and just one of my all-time favorite romances. It is so wonderful, and this one is right there next to it. I just think Helen has such an impeccable ability to write really powerful, meaningful love stories that are extremely sex positive, super inclusive, to an extent that I don't know was possible in a romance novel, but she continues to do it time after time. Time after time, Cyndi Lauper, is that what that song's called? Oh my god, why does my brain work that way? Anyway, yeah, it's so beautiful, and I will never ever ever get over the autism representation in this book and in The Kiss Quotient. it is phenomenal. I cannot wait for the third one, but I also can wait because after that it means that trilogy is going to be over and I'm going to be very sad, but I'm sure she will continue to put out wonderful novels and I can't wait. I'm such a huge fan. I loved it. The third book I read was The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I also had no idea until I got to the end of the book that Christina Lauren is a co-author name. Like, that's Christina is one girl and Lauren is another one, which was very interesting. I'm always really fascinated about that dynamic. Like, how do you do that? Does one person write one chapter and then another one, or do they work side by side and then kind of... Anyway, very interesting, but that has nothing to do with the actual story itself. This was very fun. This was just, you know, a light-hearted rom-com is the focus of this one, I would say. It definitely made me chuckle a few times, which I really enjoyed, and it was, like I said, something I really needed. This story is about two twin sisters and then two brothers. One of the twin sisters marries one of the brothers, and then the other two hate each other. I hope you like these diagrams. The other two hate each other, but at the wedding, everyone gets food poisoning except for the sister and the brother that hate each other. But regardless, they go on the honeymoon so that it doesn't get wasted. And, you know, it's 10 days in Maui, and, you know, that story kind of unfolds. It was very enjoyable. I didn't love it as much as I think I had heard on the internet. That's not to say I really liked it. I just didn't love it. Like, I love the Brown Sister books or the Kiss Quotient, the Bride Test kind of thing. There were definitely some things that I was just like, oh, I'm frustrated. But I also understand that a lot of rom-coms in particular tend to have either unrealistic plots in order for the story to work, which I understand. There are just moments that I'm like, oh, move on, let's... I hate that, you know what I mean? Like, there's just frustrating bits, or when they're fighting and I'm like, this fight could have been avoided, but I understand these books kind of have to have these elements that frustrate you in order for the plot to develop. But sometimes I just want them to get it together and not fight over reasons that they shouldn't be fighting. Or like when Olive's sister wouldn't believe her when she was telling her some really shary-ish things. That was very frustrating. But at the same time, like, believable because she was in love, so why would she believe it? So things like that. Things like that are kind of what makes me a bit frustrated. But overall, it was funny, and it was, you know, a nice romance. Not very steamy, so if you don't like heavily descriptive books in the intimacy realm, I think this is perfectly fine. Same with The Notebook. The Bride Test, that one, we all know, super steamy. So, okay, and then on audiobook, I listened to Red, White, and Royal Blue, and I'm so glad I read it. That was definitely a book that I had heard time and time again, but I was just really hesitant to read it because when I was younger, I was obsessed with this one movie. It's gonna leave me now. But anyway, I was obsessed with it, and it was a relatively similar premise, not really. Oh my goodness, it's the girl that plays 10 Things That I Hate About You with Heath Ledger. You're all going to be screaming it out the screen, aren't you? I'll put it up on the screen. But it was kind of a similar premise, and I loved that movie so much when I was little. I actually had it on my iPod Classic, and I would watch it on loop. I was obsessed with it. So I don't know, I just was like, I feel like I've read on that story before. But not that I was mistaken, because it is a similar idea, but very different. Because this is obviously a gay love story, which I love to see the representation. So important. And yes, I really enjoyed it. And I think there was one aspect in particular that I haven't heard, or at least the reviews that I've seen haven't expressed this. And that's the fact that Alex, which his actual name is Alejandro, which is so insane because also I never actually say what my name is in these videos. My name is Alejandra. That's my name, my full name. And then people call me either Ale or Ali. Usually Anglophones that struggle to say Ale or Alejandra say Ali. So yeah, but anyway, the Alex, his name is Alejandro because his dad is Mexican. Same here. And I thought the inclusion of that was really important because there's definitely a really negative connotation in the USA in particular towards people that are from Mexico. And I just thought it was really unique for them to include that and within the story kind of voice that reality. I really liked that. It was kind of like a theme that was discussed, not at length by any means, but it was very much prevalent in the story, which I really, really appreciated. I also really liked the inclusion of, which was a small detail, but they sang one of Queen's songs and it was one of my favorite songs, so reading it made me so happy. Anyway, this is such a small detail, but maybe someone feels the same way and that'll make them want to read it. Or if you have read it, you may have also really liked those bits. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was very sweet. However, my only, I guess, feedback on it is it does run a bit long. I think towards the end I kind of really just wanted to get it over with because it's a bit of a longer romance, and I feel like usually the long romances can just feel a bit tedious. You know, you just want it to wrap up nice and neat. Well, not necessarily nice and neat, but you know, you just want it to wrap up. Anyway, that was that. And then the final book I read was The Duchess Deal by Tessa Dare. When I showed my brother the cover of this book, he was like, huh? And I was like, I know, but we're not going to judge a book by its cover. We're not going to do that. We're going to give it a go. And yeah, I'm glad that I did. It was a very fun read. I'm actually gonna, let me pull up my notes on my phone because I will from now on be saying this all the time. If you've read it, you know. Really, truly, honestly, properly. That's so cute. If you haven't read the book, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But in the book, what's her name? Jesus. Emma says that. She is asking the Duke something and she goes, really, truly, honestly, properly. And it's so precious. So I love that. However, I do want, you know, it is a historical romance. So you know, it's antiquated is what it is. There are definitely things that I was like, oh, how annoying. I'm so glad. I mean, we've got ways to go, but I'm very glad we are not at that place anymore, and that relationships and roles of society are different. There's not, I'm the man and I need to be the protector and I need to possess you, which sometimes, you know, it trickles into that territory, which in moments like that I was like, no thank you. But it is a historical romance, so that is kind of the intention, to make you feel like you are being transported, which it very much does. There were definitely moments that I completely felt like I was not in 2021, which is a nice thing because we all know why. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. It also would mention spots in London, which I always really, really like to read about, especially when I can't physically be in London, England, which I would love to with my entire being. So it's really nice to read books based in London or around London because it makes me feel like I'm traveling, even though I cannot be traveling. Those were the main things that I wanted to mention about that book. I will again say that it is a steamy one. It is very steamy. Actually, what is that? The first, like, oh, the dedication at the front, Tessa Dare dedicates the book to her father. And it's so precious because she like thanks her dad for being a wonderful support system and then says, please skip chapter 7, 10, 12, 17, 20, 22, 24, whatever. She lists all of the chapters, which are 10 of them, where it gets very sexually explicit, and I thought that was really sweet. I could definitely imagine myself doing that. If I ever wrote a book of that sort, I would definitely be like, Dad, please don't read it. Honestly, Dad, if you're watching, even Mom, oh no, Mom, go ahead. Dad, don't read any of these. Yeah, just don't. So yeah, those were the 6 books that I read leading up to Valentine's Day. I had a really fun time, and I also feel like I'm kind of caught up on all of these beloved romances that people talk about and I just hadn't gone around to. I also do have The Bride Test. I also loaned it from my library, but I just didn't have time to read it. So I will read that, and I'll probably mention that in my February wrap-up. So yeah, thank you as always for being here, and I hope you had a wonderful Valentine's Day, whether it was by yourself, with your friends, well, with your friends if you're not in lockdown, with your loved ones, with your family, with your partner, whatever it is. I hope you had a nice time, and thank you so much. I'll see you when I see you.